Last time you saw G-Up, it was a fully functioning drift car. But when you're striving to be the best, you have to continue to take it to the next level. The G-Up has been completely stripped to a shell, sandblasted back to bare metal, so that it can be refreshed and improved in every aspect. Next stop is panel and paint, so join us on the road to Matsuri.
Welcome guys. Today we've just been doing a bit of prep work on old G-Up. The rear end, if you want to come down here, George. She's getting a little bit of love at the moment. A few little rust spots and things like that. We're just ripping all the old seam sealer out. I'm going to seam seal all the gaps again and treat it all the best steel. Slowly moving along. Just lots of little tiny little things just to sort of pay attention to. The tubs are going to be cut out. These are going to be flattened out. So that's one of Tyso's next jobs. He'll get onto that and the majority of the rust work. I'll just tinker away trying to get everything prepped for primer, all the fiberglass repairs and little plastic repairs. Most of the stuff's in reasonable condition. A great deal of bodywork to do as such. As you can see, it's a lot of sanding and little gaps and things on the inside, which takes up a lot of time. But yeah, it should be pretty cool once it's done. Got the S15 over there, getting the old wide body, the big ass. Some of the interior bits we're filling in all the gaps, so she's going to have a shaved dash. So a little bit of fiberglass and plastic work to do on this one. It's going to be a pretty wild looking rig. Yeah, it should be a bit of a mission to get them both done by Matsuri, but I'm sure man Tyso will handle it. Pretty keen to get some colour on it and see it all finished. Keep floating along and see how we go.
So we got G-Up Samsonite 6-speed sequential on the bench here. It's all back together. It's all clean and all the sins of Andy's driving have been cleaned off of it. Ooh. This thing was absolutely filthy from Andy going into the kitty litter. So gone ahead, we've torn it down in preparation for Matsuri. So torn it down, checked out all the gears, checked out all the selectors, all the dog gears, and just sort of replaced anything that we thought we might end up with an issue. So we basically want the whole idea about this car coming apart as far as it did and going back together is so that everything is brand new. So pretty much we got 12 months of essentially uninterrupted abuse out of the car, and we want to get that again. So what we decided to do was strip this down, replace anything that looked even slightly suspicious, and then put it all back together. So this thing is essentially now pretty much a brand new gearbox. It's all ready to go. The only thing left to do is bolt on the new slave cylinder when it turns up. When Jeep was originally spec'd, the idea was to only go to about 800 horsepower, 800 to 1,000. That was all that car was ever intended to go. So this is the Samsonite 6-speed sequential. So this thing is rated at, I believe it's 1,200 Newton meters. RS6 is what they call it. Essentially, this is like a street sequential gearbox. So it'll take a lot of power, take a lot of abuse, but it's still got that 6-speed, which is really good for street use, obviously street car. When Jeep was originally spec'd, its intention was to be an 800 to 1,000 horsepower street drift car. Since then, obviously, Andy got bitten by the horsepower bug, and that car's now making, or last time it was on the dyno, made 1,386, I believe is the most it's ever put out. Not to say that we're overpowering this gearbox, but we're doing something with this gearbox that it was never intended to do. Having said that, it has stood the test of time. It has lasted, no worries at all. The only issues we've ever had with it were essentially setup issues. It's a very simple sequential gearbox. Everything just works. It does what it's supposed to do, even when you're putting it through things that it was never meant to have put through it, like Andy. Yeah. Future plans are we are going to go to the RS90, which is the 5-speed box. So it's basically just a more robust unit, I guess you'd say, more designed, more oriented towards that track car as opposed to the street track car, because it doesn't have the 6-speed. But when Andy's drifting this thing, he's not using 6 gear anyway, so it's somewhat redundant, especially with the direction that G-Up is heading. Once we get G-Up back, so it's pretty close to coming back, I think. It's probably a week or two away from coming back to us, and we can start assembling it back together for Matsuri. So it's ready to go in the car. We don't have a car, but it's here. So we'll see when we've got a car to put it in, I guess.
We just got G up in here doing a little bit more work. Got most of the body work done. All back down into primer with using Resto Finish. Cleaned out all the tubs, made all the engine bay looking 10 times better than what it ever was.
Schmick Dunty.
Got all the cage work all freshened up, all black, all looking nice, all ready for the new interior to go back in. And then yeah, a couple more days left and she'll be a new car. So
Should
we're
be
getting there.
pretty
A couple
cool.
of long nights ahead. Long nights, but we'll get there. And we're looking forward to get it done for Matsuri. So but yeah, other than that, the crew's got a lot of work to do. Why watch him?
A lot of rubbing, sanding, prepping, all the good stuff.
Got to crack into the S15 and then try and get that sorted as well, because it's another big job and cannot wait to get them. They're going to look awesome. Absolutely killer when they're done.
Yeah.
Get back to work so we can get some stuff done.
Let's do it.
Then George is going to have to come in and help us because we need more work.
Come do some sanding, George. Some prep work.
How's that? Okay, sitting in front of you and me and Daniel.
How you doing?
We've got.
What's this?
So this is. Hey, what's this? This is G-Up's RB28 billet block, Nitto 2.8 stroker kitted. RB26.
I must say, it looks extravagant.
Must you? So this is a billet block from Bullet. It's an RB26 with a Nitto 2.8 stroker kit in it. So this is an RB28. Big SRS package head on the top of it. So being a billet block, you got two options when you go billet block. One, you can go full dry sump, or the other option is you can just stay external oil pump. You can't actually run like an OEM style oil pump with the billet block because this is a drift car and it's sort of subjected to large transitional G-forces. Obviously we opted and we went for the complete dry sump, so that's not sitting on the engine yet, but very shortly it will be back on there. This is G-Up's original billet block, the very first one that you ever saw on the channel. So this thing has copped 1,300 horsepower of abuse for over 12 months. And the thing with this car is that it never gets turned down. It's not one of those cars that makes 1,300 on the dyno and then they turn it down 400 horsepower less and run it because it's safe. Generally, the only time you ever have a high and a low boost setting is because your engine isn't built to take the high boost. So with a billet block, we've got no issues running this thing at kill mode all the time. So, and we are actually intending on turning it up a little bit for Matsuri, so more than it sort of ever has gone before. So with a cast block, they are susceptible to impurities because it's basically a pour. It's poured molten metal into a mold and then it forms the block. So being that this is a billet chunk of alloy, which is then CNC machined, there's no chance for impurities or imperfections or metallurgy differences throughout the block. It's all identical front to back, top to bottom. If for whatever reason it spat a rod, so there is an example of one spitting a rod in a billet block SR20, spat a rod, spun the rod around inside and completely tore the block up. And so to kind of prove what these blocks are actually capable of, they welded it back up, re-CNC'd it, and then sent it back in the car, and it's perfect. So you can't do that with a cast block. Cast block cracks, you're Danieled.
What's Daniel doing? I'll just come and check up on Daniel.
To be able to run the power that a billet block is capable of running in a cast block, the money and time that is spent bringing that cast block up to the level to compete with a billet block, you're very near in the budget range of actually having a billet block. And the thing is, a cast block is on the limits there. A billet block is only just getting started. So you're entering the market with a cast block to compete with a billet block at your very tip-top level, whereas you go that little bit extra and you end up at the very bottom of what you're capable of with a billet block. Yeah, pretty much just getting this thing sort of buttoned back up and put all back together, everything cleaned up, painted all nice, so it's all very nice and pretty when we sort of take it down to Matsuri for the first time and debut it again, I guess you'd say. It's copped a lot of abuse, and because it hasn't really needed maintenance, I guess we haven't really kept on top of all the filth that it has inevitably collected. Really haven't had to touch it. It just works, so haven't had to actually pull this thing out in a very long time. So it's out now. It's got a top to bottom refresh and some extra spicy little parts in there to push this thing just that little bit further so we can continue on the path of high horsepower RBs and drift cars. So the 6 boost manifold, they're getting Cerakoted at the moment. I've got the intake manifold over there just drying out because we cleaned that all out as well. And then hopefully either tomorrow or the next day we're going to have the car back here all freshly painted and looking Mickey Mouse, so we can then put this pretty little billet block back in the engine bay. From there we're going to get anything electronic into the car, and then it is going to go down to EKZ wiring and he's going to wire it up quick, snappy, smart for us so that we can get it back here and finish the assembly of it the rest of the way. And then once that one's done, we're going to hopefully, if the timeline works out, we'll have the S15 back here to do it all again. All right, colour of the car is coming up in the next couple minutes of the video. If you don't already know what it is and you want to have a guess, put it down in the comments below and we'll know if you cheat, because George is a hacker man and he will hack into your mainframe and look at your browser history. Ew. That's creepy, George. Creepy Uncle George.
Alrighty, welcome back guys. As you can see, old G-Up's got its fresh coat of paint on. It's looking pretty snazzy. She's hidden away at the moment. We just got her up on the hoist, giving her a bit of a hit underneath. We're going to throw some Raptor on, tidy them all up from underneath. If you want to see the final finish, you're going to have to subscribe and even throw a little like in there. Get on to the next episode. That's when we'll be doing the final reveal. It's a bit of a mission. Tyso's spent a few long nights here throwing the paint on and a heap of rubbing and sanding, as you can see. You know, we're on the final stretch. Well on our way to Matzi. We'll definitely be there, so we'll see you guys there.
7mm knob protrusions. That's optimal when you're chasing big horsepower. You want a little bit of knob protrusion. Just give these a gentle nipping is what we're doing here, ladies and gentlemen, so that the silicone has time to just sort of hang out. And we'll come back and final torque them later to approximately. Ready?
Yeah.
I don't want to hit the camera.
Whoa.
Oh, you moved, George.
I was scared.
You ready? Here it comes. No, here we go. Be quiet, mate. Quiet on the set. Daniel, this is really important, mate. Been completely stripped to a bare shell. G-Up has been completely stripped to a shell, sandblasted to bare metal, and refreshed, and is on its way. G-Up has been completely. So G-Up. Hang on, I'll tell you. This is going to be the one. Next stop is panel and paint. So join us on the road to Matsuri. That was easy, mate.
You want to do it one more time?
No, I don't. Because this is all painted and in its fresh, I was going to say skin, but that sounds f***ed up, doesn't it? Good luck editing that, George. Good luck editing that, you f***ing dog.